Battery Park City might be two neighboring neighborhoods, but they couldn't be more different from each other. So in this video, I'm going to compare both these neighborhoods against 5 different categories. We're going to take a look at aesthetics, dining, living, the nightlife bar scene, and recreation. And at the end, I'm going to pick an overall winner, so stick around for that. So let's take a look at the aesthetics of both these neighborhoods. Tribeca is known as a very charming, classic New York City neighborhood. Tribeca is actually one of the most expensive neighborhoods in New York City, and people love to live in Tribeca. It's more like a quiet neighborhood known for its fine dining, and I do have to say, it's a very aesthetically pleasing neighborhood. Now, there are some parts of Tribeca that are definitely more aesthetically pleasing than others, because if you're in the northwestern corner of Tribeca, it's very, very gorgeous. You're right next to the waterfront as well, so you have that. But southern Tribeca tends to resemble more the financial district, which is definitely more of like a very, very city feel. Now let's take a look at Battery Park City. Now, I did say at the beginning of this video that these neighborhoods couldn't be more different from each other, and you'll understand why with this answer. Battery Park City is basically one giant park, almost kind of like the name. Now, the neighborhood was actually named after the Battery, which is a park in downtown Manhattan that it is bordering, but there's also other parks in Battery Park City as well. So the whole neighborhood is basically one big park, I would say. It's filled with greenery, filled with trees, and also it's a waterfront neighborhood. So you really have the best of nature in this neighborhood. It almost feels like you're not even in New York City when you're in Battery Park City, because it's so quiet, so serene, and so tranquil. This neighborhood is great for a walk on a summer's day, and it's also a great neighborhood if you're looking to do like a picnic in New York City. They're very popular here in this neighborhood. So overall, when it comes to the aesthetics, both of these neighborhoods do have their charm, but I'm gonna have to give the overall category to Battery Park City, just because it is so quiet, so serene, and they're both waterfront neighborhoods. So if I had to pick one over the other, it would have to be Battery Park City. So let's take a look at dining in these neighborhoods. Tribeca is definitely known as a dining destination, and definitely a fine dining destination. There's not a lot of casual dining options in the neighborhood. Some of New York City's top chefs have opened establishments here, and people go out of their way to come to Tribeca to try these restaurants. I do have to say that Tribeca is one of my favorite neighborhoods to dine in. Now, when it comes to dining in Battery Park City, there is way less options. There's just not a lot of dining establishments in Battery Park City. Now, the few that are there are amazing, and I do think that there are some really great options. However, there's just not a lot of options here. So I do at times wish that there was more dining options in the neighborhood. Now, there also is waterfront dining in the neighborhood because it's a waterfront neighborhood. So it is nice to have such great waterfront dining options here. And during the nicer months, people do come out of their way to dine in Battery Park City at some of these waterfront neighborhoods. And during the nicer months, people do come out of their way from other neighborhoods to dine at these waterfront establishments. Overall, the dining category winner is going to have to go to Tribeca, just because it is known for its fine dining. People go out of their way to go to Tribeca, and Tribeca is one of those neighborhoods that you know that if you're going to go dining at a nice restaurant there, you're probably going to have a really great experience. Battery Park City just needs way more options when it comes to that. So now we're going to take a look at the living situation in both these neighborhoods. Now, I have a unique perspective because sometimes when I do these videos, I haven't lived in one or none of the neighborhoods, but I'm going off of my knowledge as a real estate agent and what I hear from my clients that I work with. Now, in this video, it's a little different because I've actually lived in Tribeca and I've lived in Battery Park City. So like I said at the beginning of this video, people love to live in Tribeca because the apartments that they have here are some of the best pieces of real estate I've ever seen in New York City. Like jaw-dropping, don't even understand how an architect thought to put this together type of property. It's truly incredible. As you can tell, I don't even have words because like that's how amazing some of these apartment homes are. Now, when you're looking at Battery Park City, it's definitely gonna be your more standard apartments. I do have to say that Battery Park City does have a good amount of space there, so you're definitely getting a little bit more space for your money than you are in a lot of different other neighborhoods in New York City. And Battery Park City is gonna be way cheaper than Tribeca. That's just the truth. And in Battery Park City, you are getting really good views of either the waterfront or of the city skyline. But Tribeca also has really good views as well. Now, I do have to say that depending on where you are in Tribeca, sometimes you could be on a block that just doesn't get good sunlight, so you might have a very dark apartment. It all depends where you are and how high up you are, but that could be a thing. You don't typically have that problem as much in Battery Park City unless you're really low to the ground floor. This is a tough comparison, and as you can tell by my answer, I really do think that both these neighborhoods have pros and cons. So I'm gonna have to give the category winner to Battery Park City. Now, from my experience particularly, I've liked living in both of these neighborhoods. What made me pick Battery Park City is I love being on the waterfront. Now, Tribeca is a waterfront neighborhood, so depending on where you are, you can live right on the water as well. I just love that in Battery Park City, like the whole neighborhood is a waterfront. It's like you can just go outside of your apartment, take a nice walk, run. It's just so nice to be able to just get outside, and I really value that. Some people who wouldn't care as much about that probably wouldn't love Battery Park City. Some people say that Battery Park City is almost like not even living in New York City because it's so tranquil and serene. It feels like a suburbs, and I do get that, and maybe that's why I like the neighborhood. So now we're going to take a look at the nightlife and bar scene in both these neighborhoods. Now, Tribeca actually does have lounges. Not really known for its nightlife scene. People don't really come out of their way to go out in Tribeca except for these few places, but there is like a late night drinking scene in Tribeca, so you definitely do have those options. There are so many great spots in Tribeca where you can get a really great cocktail. Now, if you take a look at Battery Park City, there's essentially no nightlife bar scene here whatsoever. There are a few bars that do stay open late at night, but people don't go out of their way to go out or drinking in Battery Park City. Maybe if you live in the neighborhood and you're getting a drink late at night, that's about it. That's the extent of it. Battery Park City is basically non-existent in that category. So the winner for that category is definitely gonna have to go to Tribeca just because that honestly doesn't even really exist in Battery Park City. But that also might be why Battery Park City might have came a little ahead in the living category. So now let's take a look at the recreation in both these neighborhoods. Honestly, very similar when it comes to recreation because they both have an equinox. They're both waterfront neighborhoods, so you can do running, jogging, walking along both neighborhoods. But Tribeca does have a little bit more boutique fitness centers, so you do have that option as well. But if you're in the southern part of Tribeca, you're actually not considered waterfront because you have to walk through Battery Park City to get to the waterfront. This was really, really close call, but I had to give the category winner to a Battery Park City, and hear me out on this one. The reason why I went with Battery Park City is because they're both waterfront neighborhoods, but Battery Park City, the entire neighborhood is waterfront, and there's just so much green space for outdoor activity. They both have very similar options when it comes to fitness studios and gyms, so it was really hard to kind of pick one, but I am gonna have to go with Battery Park City just because there's just so much outdoor green space here in the neighborhood. So the overall winner is going to Battery Park City. I have to say, this was a really, really, really close call. Probably one of my closest calls out of all these neighborhood videos I do. So I would love to know, do you guys agree with every single one of my winner categories? As always, I just love hearing from you guys in the comments.